Disclaimer: This podcast is just our opinions and facts gathered on the internet, and we do not wish to offend or cause any harm. Quick apologies for mistakes that we make on this podcast, whether it's saying the wrong thing, getting our facts wrong, or a bad pronunciation of names, cities, etc. We also do not have the correct equipment yet, and we are calling over FaceTime overseas. Therefore, excuse our sound quality, and we hope you enjoy today's episode.
Hello and welcome, this is Alex Taylor.
And this is Cara Moore.
And you're listening to Alex and Cara's A Gen Z Combo.
Today we will be discussing conspiracy theories on the coronavirus, after we give you a 5-minute rundown of the past week's world news. Take it away, Alex.
Thanks, Cara. So today's news is going to be longer than usual. It's going to be more than 5 minutes because there is so much that happened this past week that I feel like I need to mention in this podcast. We'll start off with the trials of the Paris attacks. The only surviving member, Salah Abdeslam of the Islamic IS group, suspected behind the 2015 terror attacks, started their trial on the 8th of September 2021, which is set to last 9 months. He and the 19 other defendants are being tried in Paris for the jihadist plot that led to 130 people dead and 350 wounded. This assault has been said to be the worst plot since World War II on France. The first attacks occurred on a Friday evening on the 13th of November 2015 when an unsuspecting crowd at the Bataclan concert hall were attacked by 3 gunmen at 9:47 p.m., killing many. At around 10 p.m., a police officer and his driver shot at one of the gunmen, which made their jacket explode. The 2 remaining terrorists took hostages and retreated into a corridor on the top level. On the same night, more Islamic terrorists went on shooting sprees, suicide bombings, and/or bombings on the terrace of La Belle Équipe, Stade de France, Boulevard Voltaire, Rue Fontaine, Au Revoir, Petit Cambodge Restaurant, and Le Carillon Bar, not in that order. Abdeslam was also supposed to blow himself up, but he instead threw away his suicide belt and fled to his home in Brussels, where he was arrested a few months later. The 3 attackers have since been identified as Omar Ismail Mustafa, 29, Sami Anamour, 28, and Fouad Mohammed Agad, 23, and may the victims rest in peace. Well, moving on to Afghanistan, the poverty is extremely widespread there right now as government employees have lost their jobs and the food and fuel prices have risen. Many families are living in poverty, unable to rebuild their homes, and banks closed. According to the United Nations, by next year, more than half of the children under 5 are expected to be malnourished in Afghanistan. Some are still waiting to be paid for the last few months. Many women are out on the streets protesting for their right to work and to put female ministers in the Taliban government. The protesters were targeted with tear gas and pepper spray as they try to make their way to the presidential palace. Furthermore, in many different protests, women have been beaten for demanding their basic human rights. However, the Taliban have stated that women can be involved in government, but they can't hold ministerial positions. Furthermore, girls above class 6, which is equivalent to UK secondary school age, are no longer allowed to go to school, which I find to be a violation of human rights, as everyone, regardless of their gender, should have the right to have an education. And I also believe that I think UK secondary school, class 6, is way too young to leave school, as if it couldn't get any worse. Women now can't leave their homes without taking a male escort and wearing a burqa. On Tuesday, the Taliban announced the first appointments to their interim cabinet, which will be led by Mullah Muhammad Hassan Akhund. The Taliban leader Akhund have said that the country will uphold Sharia law, which is the Islamic legal system, and that they want strong and healthy relationships with other nations and would respect international laws and treaties as long as it goes with the Islamic laws and the country's national values. The ex-president of Afghanistan has apologized to his nation and said that he left to avoid bloodshed. Um, there have been many reports of journalists being beaten with sticks by the Taliban, and MI5 have said that the recent events would have emboldened terrorists. Furthermore, on Thursday, the first foreigners flew out after US pullout, and the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has pledged not to abandon UK allies left behind in Afghanistan. And also during this week, the Taliban raised their flag in the Afghan resistance stronghold in Panjshir in front of the provincial governor's office this past week and posted a video. However, the resistance fighters dispute this, saying they still have a presence in that area. Please check out our website on our Instagram at a Gen Z podcast, where you can find out how you can help Afghanistan on our first episode page. And that's it on the update on Afghanistan. Moving on, in the US, the Biden administration are suing Texas over their new abortion law that prohibits women from getting abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy, which many doctors and women's rights activists are not in agreement with, which I personally agree because I think a woman should be able to make that choice to have an abortion, and I also think abortion is a healthcare right. Also, in America, Britney Spears' father has finally filed the papers to court to end 13-year conservatorship. Thank God. I'm so happy for that. I think it's been way too long, and Britney should get her own independence. Moving on, there was a fire in a prison in Tangerang in Indonesia this Wednesday, which killed 41 inmates. In Lebanon, on the 9th of September, a new government was announced in Lebanon after the previous government quit right after the Beirut port explosion. The new government will be led by Najib Mikati, who is the richest man in Lebanon and also held the prime minister position twice before. Mexico, on 8th of September, had suffered a powerful earthquake with a magnitude of 7, which hit the Pacific coast of Mexico. During the past week, there was also a flash flood which hit a hospital which killed 17 patients. Moreover, Mexico finally decriminalized abortion in landmark ruling. I am so happy for them. Finally, also for the flash flood, I think that climate change is somehow part of that because I've seen so many flash floods like these um, months, and I don't think it's that common, but I'm not really sure because I'm not an expert. But yes, there was also a tornado on a small Italian island which killed 2, and to end this section, we would like to make a moment to remember those we lost and as well as those left behind. Yesterday marked the 20th anniversary of the horrific 9/11 attack. Please take a minute with us to remember.
We thank you for the 1 minute silence for those that were lost and those who were left, and the loved one that they left behind. So we're going to move on to our main topic today, which is a little wild and a little controversial and maybe a little unexpected even. So even though the topic being discussed today may seem fun, surprisingly it is also quite dangerous. As we know now, corona is a deadly virus that has killed millions upon millions of people. It is a deadly disease. However, at the start of the pandemic, there were many, many speculations ranging from where it came from, how to prevent it, and how it spread, and even if it is real or not. Today, we will be discussing all of these topics and the theories that come with them. Now,
that seems so fun. I'm really excited for today's topic.
It seems really fun, and when I was doing research on this, it was quite fun as well. But then I do realize the causes and consequences of this as well, which is surprisingly shocking as well. So now, before we start, we would also say that correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, but we both enjoy conspiracy theories. We love discussing them. We love talking about them.
Our friends would definitely accidentally believe one of these conspiracy theories. Like she would accidentally
definitely. We find them fun and interesting, and we're not much against people coming up with conspiracy theories, but something as serious as the pandemic.
A lot of danger. I mean, it's part of what caused the rise in violence, right?
Yeah, some of the reasons in today's topic does cause a lot of death that we think that could have been prevented if the theories weren't so advertised. And we're saying there's nothing wrong with advertising conspiracy theories because, well, it's quite difficult to say, but if it is something that you don't know much about and do not have enough facts to support it, and you advertise it so much that people genuinely start to believe it so much that they are going against health laws and health violations and risking people's lives is something that we are very much against. So we do want to say that we do enjoy conspiracy theories. We don't think there's much wrong with them, but something that is so important as literally a world pandemic, you do have to be a little bit more cautious about what you put online to ensure people's safety.
Yeah. Definitely.
So first up, we have some theories about where the virus originated from. As we know, the virus originated from Wuhan, China, but many people believe that it escaped a laboratory there. And within that laboratory, they were building a chemical bioweapon for war. Now, the other side of this theory is that people thought that the scientists within the lab let it out on purpose to test it on people and to see how effective and how it worked. Now, another one is that the USA purposely shipped and brought the virus over to China and left it there to be released. And by the US, I mean the US military. So moving on, I know it's
so wild.
It's wild. How people come up with these things, I'm not very sure of.
It's something that would come out of my dreams because I do have really wild dreams, honestly.
It's true. So moving on swiftly, we have some theories on how to prevent them. Now, these aren't entirely theories. They're much more badly suggested and researched techniques that people have unfortunately believed and tried out. From a tweet from Donald Trump himself back in 2020, stating, "And then I saw the disinfectant where it knocks it out in 1 minute. And is there any way we could do something like that by injecting inside or almost a cleaning? As you can see, it gets in the lungs. It does tremendous numbers on the lungs. So it would be interesting to check that." So I think we should clarify.
Is he suggesting to inject themselves with disinfectant?
Yes, to clear the lungs, because apparently, quote unquote, does tremendous things for lungs. But I think we should just clarify at the moment that no. Injecting or eating disinfectants does, such as Tide Pods, which people have done, will not do tremendous things for your lungs. It will do the opposite of that, and it's.
Tremendous damage.
Sure, definitely tremendous language, and hearing it from someone.
Someone of that authority, because he was president at the time. I think it really, really doesn't do any good. It does the opposite of good, which is bad.
Yes, I don't even know what to say, but to state, eating Tide Pods or injecting yourself with disinfectant isn't going to solve this problem at all.
No.
Yeah. So another crazy theory was that was on the rise was that the virus was being spread through the 5G network. You know, the 5G, like the mobile data that we all have. Now, to just clear the air, we would like to state that it is impossible for viruses to travel through data and into our biology. However, many people may think this theory should be easily debunked, but it was not. Like, you would think that it would be impossible, right? But one of the reasons...
It's impossible. It's literally... Oh, God, no.
Yeah, but the interesting is, Alex, we know that it's impossible, but the only reason so many people believe it was because it was heavily advertised on social media by celebrities and other A-listers as well, which is crazy because the amount of power that they have, and they use it for that is like, I don't think it's like a good way to use it, and they don't know the facts either because it's kind of like self-explanatory.
So they shouldn't use the high network and high data to spread false news.
No,
honestly,
they shouldn't. They shouldn't do that.
Anyone who learned any sort of biology in school should know this, or is it just me?
But yeah, the thing is, you kind of lose all sense of hope, lose all sense of like moral thinking when someone you really look up to says something like this. And there's also a viral video that has gone up consisting of a woman yelling at a worker to not turn on a tower because, quote unquote, turn on a tower and it will be bye bye mama. So obviously we can tell that this woman is a mother, and most people should be able to debunk that, but apparently most people can't debunk that. Viruses can't travel through networks and into our biology. So when people do realize that, that is going to be a day worth waiting for. So the last theory, it's crazy, isn't it?
It is so crazy, honestly. But if Taylor Swift wrote it, would I believe it?
See, now that's a hard question to answer, but she is logical enough to not write it, so hopefully we don't have to think about that.
Yeah.
So the last theory that we have is probably the craziest and the most deadly, though it may seem ignorant and self-serving. The theory that coronavirus is fake and the government is using it to control our freedom is actually really dangerous. Why? Because it had started an anti-lockdown protest in which people walked out on the streets despite being on lockdown and not wearing masks. Obviously, this caused many more deaths than it should have been prevented, and if they had stayed indoors. And many that were actually affected and ended up with the coronavirus were the protesters themselves. Irony or karma? Dealer's choice. So now that, yeah.
Honestly, I've heard so much too. I think there's some sort of conspiracy theory going on about the vaccine as well. I've heard a lot of that.
Yeah, people think that the vaccine is fake and we shouldn't use it or something like that. But I personally think that we should use a vaccine. Both of my parents have gotten the first, and the second shot is on my way to my mom. And I think it's important for us to use the vaccine, even though it is self-explanatory. I think you should use it anyways because it'll protect not only yourself but the people around you.
For sure. My family has completed the vaccine, except for me because I can't get it yet, apparently. Well, I signed up to get it, so.
Yeah, so now that we have heard some of these absurd theories, we would like to talk about how you can tell them apart from the truths. Let us start by saying that not all conspiracy theories are fake, or they don't start out that way anyways. Obviously, all conspiracy theories start out a little crazy, but it all has some sort of root from the truth, as I would like to say. And many of the conspiracy have turned out to be true. And it may not be for word to be true, but all the backbones of this conspiracy theories are the same. An example of this would be Operation Mockingbird. This operation was the result of the CIA's involvement in the media in spreading fake news. So originally, people thought that the government was purposely giving out fake news to control its citizens or something, but and it turned out to be true by like just uncovering it. I guess you could call it internet sleuthing, but they
Yeah.
found out that it was originally correct, and the CIA, and it also had the CIA involvement in spreading fake news to manipulate its citizens as well.
Also, there's like a cult going on right now called QAnon, who is literally spreading conspiracy theories.
Theories about
the government. It was like the government people are lizards, or like I think this man like killed his children because he thought they were half reptile. Like,
oh my god, what? That's insane.
I know.
I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the same group also made a documentary on how coronavirus is fake. And I saw this on Last Week Tonight from John Oliver, which by the way is a great show, on how they made a documentary, and it looked so real. You know how it looked so professionally filmed, which it was starring this doctor who apparently went to jail, and she told the interviewer that she went into jail without any criminal clauses or something like that, but obviously she did, because it literally was written in the transcript that she had committed criminal things. And they had this section of a video where it looked like the FBI was raiding her home, and it looked so realistic that you would think it's true, but then you could just literally Google a video of like police raiding a house, and you can literally come up with the very first thing that pops up is literally that video. And it was basically her like protesting against the coronavirus and stuff like that. And so many people have watched it. It's literally insane, and it spread so much fake news that like this it's actually also one of the reasons that the anti-lockdown protests were happening, because of this very realistic unreal documentary that came out, and it costed so many lives. And so many people regretted it when they realized that them or one of their loved ones have actually gotten the virus.
I know.
It's like in the end it's quite horrific, but at the start it seems like fun, and even, I don't want to say this, but these people are kind of self-serving. If you don't believe something, then okay, fine, you don't believe it. But I think you have also if you have the choice to either not believe something, but then also choose to actively protest against it and against healthcare requests, and not wearing a mask and going around and not being in quarantine and actively putting people's lives in danger, I don't think you have a right to do that.
I think some of these people like who are protesting and who believe these crazy wild theories are some of the people who don't like pay attention to the news, or like someone who doesn't research the other side, the side that I believe in, the side that coronavirus is real. It is not created by the government, and is not spread by cell service.
Yeah, definitely, Alex. But also another thing that I think is another reason for all this is just the level of mistrust between countries' citizens and countries' governments. That bridge between those two things is just so wide, and how much they just don't believe their government is another reason, I think, for this. And I do realize that secrets for governments is important, because classified stuff and all that, but they literally made their citizens distrust them so much. They literally think that the government is trying to kill them with a virus that was purposely made for this, to be released into the world to test it on its people. It's insane. And also, I think the government should be trying, and I know nothing about politics, so this could be completely wrong and incorrect, but I think the government should try to bridge that very wide gap a little closer together, because so much distrust is going on that it is starting to become almost unsafe, and in like a kind of crazy level as well. Would you agree to that, Alex?
I would completely agree. I completely agree with what Kara is saying. I think the government, I don't know, the bridge between the government and its people are quite substantial, I think.
It's too large of a gap as well, but it's like, because like I think we both do kind of understand the need to have secrets. Actually, I don't know how much of it I do understand, but I would say that a lot of it is understood, and a lot of stuff has to be classified. But I also think they should just be trying a little harder to gap it. Sorry, say that again?
Sorry, I think people should just get a proper understanding of what they're facing or what they're thinking. Like, you have to research both sides at all times, because you don't only get one picture and believe in it.
Yeah, that is, I so agree with that. I think that's something that I think you personally are very good at doing, because I think it's sometimes tempting to disagree with people, and it's sometimes more tempting to just look at one side of things, and that is your opinion. But I do think, as Alex said, I definitely so agree with her that you need to research both sides and make your opinions based on that, because I don't think it's fair to the other side if you haven't heard them out and you make your decision on that.
All right. Unbiased, I think.
Definitely. So now Alex has a little bit more of a fun end to end with this. I know we did miss out on that last week, but we do have another one today that I actually think is really interesting. So Alex, take it away.
Okay. So a mother who took a 15-year-old son out of school so he could pay Fortnite full time has now started to play the game professionally too. After witnessing her son making £500,000 from the video game, and Fish, a mother of two, and a contract to live stream herself as she learns how to play the game. Wow. I mean,
that's fun. That's a fun mom. Also, £500,000. That's insane.
YouTubers do make a lot of it. I don't know if they're like a YouTuber.
Her son is 15 years old. £500,000.
I don't make any money. I rely on accounts. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad. Sorry.
Yeah, but like, that's crazy. I mean, I guess it would be smart to do that, wouldn't it?
It would. I mean, you're already making a lot. So.
That's $691,000 US.
Well, you can.
That's over $500,000.
I can't. That's cool.
Just sit there and silently brood.
Doing that kind of thing and like making an enormous amount of money. And you see us who are starting the podcast haven't made a cent yet. That is going to charity, but we've decided that, but we haven't made any, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I really hope this podcast is in some way helping you to find out more about these topics and these problems that is going around in the world. I'm so sorry for the barking if you hear it. But I really hope this podcast helps you, and I really hope this podcast spreads awareness needed for some topics. Next week we'll be discussing Black Lives Matter, and I believe it is one of the most important injustices in the world that we need to talk about.
Yeah, it's been going on for way too long as well.
It is.
And also, we would like to say that this is also really helping us as well.
Oh, it is so fun. I love researching the news. I love researching all of this, because without this, I would not have any.
Okay, I have a ticking timer right now, and we have to kind of close up this episode because we're running out of time.
Yeah.
So we'll see you next week.
We really hope you enjoyed today.
Yeah, and we hope you learned something, as we always do. And always yours, Alex and Cara.
Bye.